Hey, what's up? Autofocus has never sold me a camera, and I really never have put a heavy emphasis on autofocus. Should you?
I've been on the vibe, kinda hard to describe. I'm in between, I'm good and it's fine, but I'm tired of the grind. Then I come alive in the night to realize I'm in the middle of the time of my life. I'm never so packed for the stack, never lied on the rap.
Okay, so I just got the XH2s, and I get a lot of questions about how's the autofocus, and my reply is usually, I'm not a fair person to ask because my demands or what I do, the kind of photography and videography that I do isn't very demanding of an autofocus system as long as the autofocus works. So in order to understand this, I think that we should go over a few points and ask ourselves, what is it that you're really doing, and practically do you need to have the best, fastest, most accurate autofocus? Somebody over there? Nope. Back to the doggy. Hi. All right, let's go to me. What's up? Back to the dog. Back to me. Back to the dog. Back to me. Water. Dog. Backyard. Dog. Water. Dog. Trash cans. Water. Dog. Me. Alright, so this can be a little bit of comment on the IBIS as well, because I can do stuff like this, and that's really what the IBIS is meant to do, because I've been getting a lot of questions over the IBIS as well, and it works great. As far as I can tell, going over my spot over here by the orange tree, and you know, when I do things like this, you can see up here in the corners that there aren't any IBIS wobbles, and I think that's due to the added stops as well as the stacked sensor with a faster readout speed coupled with the IBIS doesn't give me the wobbles, and that was my main use case for it. As far as making it look like a gimbal, I'm not sure. You know, you got to remember that these IBIS mechanisms have limited spaces to move, so you have to really be graceful in your movements like this in order to make it look real fluid, and I'm not the best at that, so when I need that I use a gimbal, but in situations like this where I'm holding the camera out like this, and obviously my hand is going to get tired after a while and start to shake, you don't really notice those micro movements, nor do you notice it when I kind of adjust like this, that it's really jerky. So anyway, so far so good on the IBIS. Alright, so now let's talk autofocus. I don't hold autofocus in the highest of regards, and the main reason is I'm predominantly a landscape photographer. There are a few things. I'm from Indiana, so we do go to the Indy 500. There's the Brickyard 400. Here in LA or Long Beach, we go to the Long Beach Grand Prix and Formula One races when I can. They used to have some in Indianapolis, and I think they stopped in, I think 2008 was the last year. And the last one I went to was in 2006. Anyway, there are some instances where I would like to use high-speed shooting as well as fast autofocus, but I was brought up on older DSLRs which had neither, so the workarounds that I was able to deploy at that time were to either use manual focus on something that was close to a car that was speeding by, and then set my burst mode to the highest it would, get it as it goes past, or sort of, if I had enough room and there was enough straightaway, to do a pan. So like, let's say the dog's a car, she's moving, she's running, I'll get her, I'll pan, and then press it down and get as many shots as possible. Same thing when I'm doing like airplanes and other things like that. But in my landscape photography, I don't really rely on it at all. And sometimes even at night, mostly at night, when the object or buildings or whatever it is I'm focusing on are far away, I will typically use manual focus and sometimes even do a focus stack. And this is really common in landscape photography. So having a fast, accurate autofocus isn't as much of a requirement for me. So when people knock autofocus of these Fuji systems, it doesn't really mean much to me because I don't really use it too much anyway. Now, that isn't to say that I don't use it in video, because I am starting to branch out into a lot more video, but it's always been good enough. There have been a few times where it would, and you can look in my past videos, I think I've done it 2 or 3 times where it just would get confused and it wouldn't focus on something that I was pointing it at. Mostly because it was looking at my head, because my head takes up most of the frame, and then when I turn it around like this, it's confused because the light, not only is the light different like this, but it would take it a second to learn that I wasn't looking at a face anymore and try to find out what is it that you really want to focus on. So that was a hindrance, but only a handful of times, and in between those videos it actually never really acted up too much for me. And in photo mode, again, when I'm doing like street photography or lifestyle photography or something, I'm using the joystick on the back to control the focus points, and then locking it in by half pressing or hitting the AF lock button on the back. That I usually control the focus points on my own anyway, so I'm not really a fair person to ask about the autofocus outside of the video test that you have seen me do today, because that's really all I really rely on the autofocus for. And even on the X-T4, it was good enough. So I guess my point is to ask yourself practically, what is it that you're doing, and does it demand the fastest autofocus or the best or industry leading autofocus? I came from Canon, which has historically had, you know, dual pixel and quad pixel autofocus, so they have the best autofocus in the business. But when I'm switching to the X-T4 and then now the XH2S, it's never been a deal breaker. I mean, it's been fine. In most situations, I've never had an issue. And even with this XH2S, I had an issue one time, and that was when I first got the camera, because I hadn't really set it up completely yet, and I had it stuck in single point video focus, and I shouldn't have had. I turned on eye autofocus, and then the problem went away. Haven't had it again since. So, so far so good. The camera, I've had it for, see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I only had it for like 4 days, but as far as it goes with the X-T4, it blows it out of the water. It's way, way better. And you know, it's probably only going to get better with future firmware updates. So, and I haven't even updated this to the most recent firmware yet. There's a 1.01 and I'm still on 1.00. So I haven't, yeah, it's fine. For anyone asking, it's fine. Now, if you're a wedding photographer or a sports photographer, I get it. You want the fast industry-leading autofocus. This camera might not be for you. I don't know, because I don't do those kinds of things, and I'm not a good judge of that. I don't know if there's any videos out there of people that do sports or wedding photography using an XH2S, but if there are, I highly recommend you watch those videos. But in a practical everyday vlog like this sense, and as well as, you know, landscape, nature, street photography, things like that, it's perfectly fine. It's not going to let you down. I think you'll be very happy. I think the camera is a great camera so far. It's a good balance between affordability, functionality, and technology. So I can recommend it after the first 4 days at least. Now, does that mean next week I'll have a different opinion? You never know. I can't see the future, but I will be doing probably like a 6-month review on this. Maybe even a 6-week review, I don't know. But I'll probably do a year review as well. And yeah, so far, that's all I've got to say about that. The IBIS is great, the autofocus is great. I haven't had much of a chance to play around with anything else. So far I've been filming everything in the 6.2K open gate and adjusting the proportions in DaVinci Resolve. You can look at this video here, or no, is it here? I don't know, wherever the eye thing is, where I did sort of a cinematic thing down at the Santa Monica Pier. And I did it in F-Log 6.2K. You can see what it looks like in low light after I graded it. Now I did add pump some shadows and stuff into it to give it a more dramatic feeling. So don't think that it's, I don't know, you just watch it and see what you think. And if you have any questions, put them down below. See, it's not bad. It's a little slow, but it's not bad. Part of that is this old lens. This is a 16mm 1.4 Fujinon, and while it is a good lens, it is not the fastest autofocusing lens. So if you're doing a lot of video, maybe consider that as well. Also, if you're doing, I forgot to touch on this, if you're a video person that's not a wedding photographer or anything like that, but you're doing like more moody or cinematic stuff, maybe music videos, you're going to be fine, because most of the time you're probably using manual focus anyway. If you're using a cinema lens or a cinema line lens, you probably don't even have autofocus. You probably have a follow focus, and you're doing things like, well, I'll show you an example here where I have used it in the past to make it look like I just woke up. So I'll just lay down on this little lounge thing here and do an example real quick. But you can also watch the video that I put up here somewhere, the cinematic thing that I did at the pier. I was using it in autofocus the whole time. Never had any problems. I don't think, I'm optimistic that I won't have any problems, but if I do, I think that it'll be very minimal. And I think that for a lot of people that are on YouTube reviewing this camera, it's really too early to tell. I think that you really have to use it for a long time. But so far, so good. If that helps answer all the questions that I've gotten a lot of questions on Instagram mostly, and I've had some in the video at the pier asking about how's the autofocus, how's the depth of field, how's the IBIS. Hopefully this helps answer your questions in the short term. I will be doing a long term, like I said earlier, probably like a 6 week, 6 month, 1 year, I don't know. Yeah, I can't tell the future. A year ago I thought I would be with Canon forever, but I had just gotten the X-T4, and here I am with 2 Fujis and no Canons, except for my FTB film cam. But anyway, those are my thoughts, my 2 cents as of right now, and I'm really happy with it so far. Nothing bad to say yet, but we'll see. Anyway, I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next one, right, Anju? Okay, here's what I was talking about, the dramatic focus shift manually. How long was I asleep? Oh yeah. Okay, wanna go inside and have a treat? I'm probably sunburned from laying in the sun. Why didn't you wake me up?